right, for our chart making. And look, Miss Corbin figured it out. She used a pants hanger to hang it up higher so I don't have to lay on the floor and try to teach with the chart. So I'm very proud of myself with that one. All right, so here's a triangle. Here are our quadrilaterals. And take a minute, pause the video, draw this chart on your notebook so you can take your notes, so when you go back to do your work, you have a quick reference sheet, because this one is really important, because we're going to write down what each of them has to have. Now remember, they're all quadrilaterals because they have 4 sides and 4 angles. Now let's look at the rectangle. When I look at the rectangle, we have 2 pairs of parallel sides. So we have 2 pairs. There's 1 pair and 2 pairs. So in order to be a rectangle, you have to have 2 pairs of parallel lines. So 2 pairs of parallel lines. So 2 pairs of parallel lines. Now, what else do we notice about there? It has to have 2 pairs that are equal lengths. So these are the same length and those are the same lengths. So we have to have 2 pairs of lines of equal length. Now remember, these lines right here are the lines that tell you if it's equal. So we see that's equal and that's equal. And remember, parallel just means they're right like this. There's none of this going on. They're nice and straight. And then the last thing for it to be rectangle, it has to have 4 right angles. So the last thing is that a rectangle has 4 right angles. So 4 right angles. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So in order to be a rectangle, it has to have 2 sets of parallel lines. Then it has to have 2 sets of lines that are the same length. They have to be the same length, and it has to have 4 right angles. Now let's look at what a trapezoid needs to have. The trapezoid only needs to have, to be called a trapezoid, it has to have at least 1 pair of parallel sides. At least 1 pair of parallel sides. Now remember, this is parallel. If you want to write out the word instead, you can. So, if we ask ourselves this, at least 1 pair of parallel sides. So could a rectangle also be a trapezoid? Does it have at least 1 pair of parallel lines? Yes, it does. So that could also be called a trapezoid, because to be a trapezoid, you just have to have at least 1 pair of parallel sides. All right, so let's go to the rhombus. So the rhombus has 2 pairs of parallel side. So 2 pairs of parallel sides. That means these 2 are parallel and those 2 are parallel. So if we take it and extend them, they're parallel, and those are parallel. So those have 2 parallel sides and 2, no, not 2. Yeah. Sorry, I don't have my white out. 4 sides of equal length. So that means each of those sides are the same length. And we know that because it's all 1 line on each, not 2. Now, looking at a rhombus, can it Can it be a trapezoid? Or is a rhombus a trapezoid? Does it have at least one pair of parallel sides? Yes. But is a trapezoid a rhombus? Does the trapezoid have 4 sides of equal length? No. So a trapezoid is not a rhombus. So that can't be in that category. And we'll get better. That sounded really confusing. But we'll get better at seeing how each of them can have those different names. We just have to go back to the chart and check, do they have it? If all of them says yes, then that can be another name for it. So I have 2 more to figure out what are the requirements to be called those quadrilaterals. So let's go to the square. The square, it has to have 2 pairs of parallel lines, 2 pairs of parallel lines. So there's a pair, there's a pair. It has to have 4 sides of equal length. That means all of these sides are the same length. And then this is what makes it different than a rhombus. It has to have 4 right angles. So the rhombus has the 2 pairs of parallel lines and the 4 sides of equal lengths, but it doesn't have to have 4 right angles. But to be a square, it has to have 4 right angles. Now our last one is our parallelogram. And so this one has 2 pairs of parallel sides. Has to have 2 pairs, so those are parallel, those are parallel. And then it has to have 2 pairs of sides that are the same length. So then it has 2 pairs of sides of equal length. And let's check. So these 2 are the same length and those 2 are the same length. So it has 2 pairs of equal length. All right, so we're going to use this chart to help us answer some of our questions.